Hello and welcome back to the Oxford Maths Online Open Days. This is the 4 p.m. Next Steps and Q&A session. My name's James. I'm still the admissions coordinator for Maths at Oxford. I hope you've enjoyed the open day so far. I hope you had a chance to use some of the resources that we put on the website, maybe watch some of the videos. The point of this session is going to be thinking about what next, what to do after the open day, ways to stay in touch, other things you might like to try, even when it's not an open day, and we're going to answer your questions and chat to you about mathematics and stuff if you like. Anywhere you see a join the Q&A button on the open day website, you can join a kind of live Q&A feed. I'm joined this afternoon by Victor Flynn and Richard Earle, who are both tutors at Oxford. That's New College and Worcester College, respectively, for what it's worth. They're going to help me answer questions that come in the Q&A. So you're welcome to start typing things into the Q&A now. I can see Matt has put in somebody with the username Matt Parker has put in some great approximations to root 2, which we were talking about in one of the Matt workshops earlier. So if you were here for a Matt workshop, you'll have seen a way to generate approximates to root 2. So that's something going on in there. I'm very quiet apparently. Let's have a quick look. I might have messed up my microphone settings. 1 2 1 2. Maybe I'm just talking quietly. This is now my 8th hour of doing live streams for open days, so maybe I'm losing my voice. Okay, if you can't hear me, let me know in the Q&A. Even if it's not a question, you're allowed to type stuff in the Q&A. I'm going to start describing next steps though, or different things that you might like to think about doing after the open day, sort of next stuff. Okay, so welcome to type. Yeah, okay. So Rose has typed a question about accountancy work experience that either Rich or thank you. No, okay, my sound is no. Thank you, Amber and Anonymous. People who tell me, I always love it when people say they can hear, because then brilliant. A lot of this online teaching sometimes feels like shouting into the void and just broadcasting mathematics and seeing who can pick it up. Right, here's some mathematics that I'm throwing out into the void. Okay, you can stay in touch with us. Ways to stay in touch with us first. Our email address to get to our undergrad admissions team is undergraduate.admissions@maths.ox.ac.uk. If you send an email to that, it will go to me or one of the team, and we'll get back to you. That's particularly good if you've got a question but you don't want to type it in the Q&A box because it's kind of a public forum, but you would like to ask a kind of private question, then you can send an email there. No stupid questions, no wrong questions. Happy to help you with things through that way, if you want to ask us things there. I've mentioned the Oxford Online Maths Club far too many times. I know. I've put it in every video I've made, I think. So every Thursday we do a live stream, a little bit like this, but looking at some bits and pieces of mathematics. You're welcome to come along to it. It's free. There's no sign up needed. If you haven't found a link to it yet, then I don't know how you've avoided all of them. I've been putting them everywhere. Stay in touch. It'd be nice to see you there to chat about some maths. It's less admissions advice than this, and more just doing bits of maths, just like the mathsy bits of today. From 5th of August, we're going to start a weekly maths live stream, so that's going to be a bit like the math workshops, but a weekly thing where we go through and do some math problems. We did this last year, setting some math problems for people to try, doing them on a live stream, and also with some kind of bonus bits of mathematics in there as well. That's going to start after season 2 of the Maths Club. The Math live stream is going to be the next thing that we do weekly for our live maths experience. So that's a way to stay in touch with us as well, and maybe do some maths over the summer if you want to do something like that. We're on social media, I suppose, as well. You're on a YouTube channel where we sometimes upload other stuff, mostly Maths Club stuff at the moment, but I can imagine other stuff coming towards us from other math stuff coming onto that YouTube channel at some point as well. We've got a main channel as well, Oxford Mathematics, for more maths lectures and bits and pieces like that. And we're on lots of the other social media platforms if you want to stay in touch with us. Right, okay. Other things, and I mentioned some of these in the morning, so you might have seen stuff like this, a bit of already, you might have clicked on the links on the Open Day page, but I'm going to explain once again how to make the most out of resources that we've thrown together. Here's the prospectus link. That's got more information about the courses and a little bit more information about what the courses are like and the kind of range of options that you have within the course, using a current list of course titles, which does change a little bit year on year as we keep things up to date and change things depending on who's teaching. It's got some maths puzzles in as well, and some suggestions of books that you might like for kind of further reading or reading around mathematics. They're in categories like popular mathematics, biography, and history of mathematics. By the way, so reading these popular mathematics books, they're often written for people who are less keen on mathematics than you are. So you're very keen on mathematics. You're spending some of your weekends to find out about mathematics. So good for you. You're very keen on mathematics. Normally when people write popular maths books, they're aiming them at kind of more general public. So when you read a popular maths book, you might find that in a place where they could have had an equation, they've taken the equation out. Or in a bit where they could have explained the mathematics, they haven't explained the mathematics. And so maybe for you, reading a kind of popular maths book might involve doing some extra thinking alongside to shut the book and think about the maths that's going on, to try and look a little bit further, to try and investigate a little bit more, because you've got the skills to do that and because you're interested and good at mathematics. So that's the prospectus. More facts in there, lots more suggestions of things to read if you like reading. There's also links to actual details of what the courses were in 2019 to 2020. So you can go quite deep on this resource if you want to. This is the actual course page that the undergraduates used in 2019-2020 to access their lecture notes and course descriptions and problem sheets and things. So it's all there. It's not password protected. If you want to go and look at what's in Galois theory, what is Galois theory, what do the lecture theory notes, what do the lectures on Galois theory look like? It's pretty complicated. It's the sort of thing that you do in the third year of a degree, so maybe not a great way to learn Galois theory on your own, because learning maths is really difficult. I would strongly recommend doing a maths degree if you want to learn mathematics, but hey, there's some maths out there. In fact, even if you're studying at a different university, you could come back and look at notes here and look at what's in the Oxford courses. That's a kind of resource that Oxford's made available that you can look at if you want to see some more bits of mathematics. So you could go quite deep on that. I'm not encouraging you to go and like do the problem sheets or read the lecture notes, but if you want an impression of what the mathematics is like, you want to see what do lecture notes actually look like, you can have a look somewhere in there for your choice of 2019 course. AMSP, I think some people have heard of, some people haven't heard of. I've put a note in the Info for Teachers video about AMSP. They organise events and resources for anyone learning A-level maths, further maths or core maths in the UK. They're a charity. They have lots of support from the government to organise maths support. So they are a resource that's there. They do help with people preparing for university maths as well. So lots of stuff there. I think lots of their resources you access via your school signs up for an AMSP account or something and then gets access to lots and lots of videos or something on different maths topics. So maybe have a look around their website or encourage your teachers to have a look around their website to get access to all of their lovely content. That's AMSP, big source of help with A-level mathematics. If you find that maybe you want some extra support or help with A-level mathematics or equivalent, maybe you're feeling that missing out on actual GCSEs is something that you want some more support with, then your school should have access to this sort of resource in the UK. Right. There's also something called the STEP Support Programme. I can't remember how many times I've mentioned this in videos. So just to be clear, STEP is not used by Oxford. It's a maths exam. It's used by other universities, but not Oxford. It's taken at the end of Year 13 for UK students. Well, it's at that time for everyone, but it's when UK students are at the end of Year 13. It uses all of maths and all of further maths. So this might be a source of interesting bits and pieces of mathematics, other questions. There's a website where you can look up past questions and have a look at some STEP questions if you want to find some challenging maths questions. And they have something called the STEP Support Programme, which is a very structured look through bits of STEP questions looking at the problem with some discussion afterwards. The problem sheets are really well structured for this program. They have a kind of warm up, a bit of step question, and then some further thinking. And on the kind of solutions page, you get a big chunk of discussion. Everything in blue here is discussion around the question. It's too small to read, but you have to go to the website to read it. Okay, right. So that's step. So it's worth using their free resources, even if you're not going to do their exam. But bear in mind that their questions use maths and further maths, all of it. So lots of topics that might be used there. Apparently I've got a slide for the Maths Club as well as a button for the Maths Club. I've definitely mentioned this too many times. Let's talk about the pictures. I've mentioned what it is a lot of times. On the left here is an episode where Lauren is explaining something from probability to me. Lauren's a current student. She's explaining a bit of probability theory where she got to use a quadratic equation at some point in a probability course. That was pretty good. Good use of quadratic equations, I think. So that was pretty good. On the right, it's just me, and I'm showing off a shape that I made that has kind of got the symmetries of a cube, but it's got a pattern that's like a dodecahedron drawn on it. So these are from some of the earlier episodes of the Maths Club. We've now got about 15 episodes of Maths Club videos on different maths topics up on that website. Each episode comes with some further reading, some notes of websites of where we got some information from, or websites you might like to read, or bits and pieces, things to try, further questions that have come up. Sometimes during the live stream, someone will ask a question in chat that's such a good question that we can't do it properly during the live stream, and then I set it in the further reading so that everyone can think about it properly. The chat's sort of brilliant in the Maths Club. I really like them. Right, what else do I want to say? Maths Club's really good fun. It's going to turn into the Matt live stream at some point. It's on season 2. Season 3 is going to be the Matt live stream from the 5th of August over the summer. Right. Okay. That was my next steps. So try more maths. Get stuck on tricky maths problems. Find any sorts of maths problems you can where you can get stuck on them, and maybe think about university maths a bit if you like. I think those are ways to explore mathematics a little bit further. Some of those resources, like the STEP support program, has loads of content, and the looking at university mathematics is extremely deep. Some of those resources could take you a long time to get through. Sometimes people come to me and say I would like more extra maths problems, so I tell them to look at the STEP support program. Nobody has ever come back to me from the STEP support program and said that I've done all of it. There's a lot of good maths over there. Right, okay, so that gives me plenty of time to do Q&A. I can see Rich Marilee answering questions already. Yeah, so I've got some solutions. Thinking in terms of maths already. We've got some answers from Rich in there. I'm going to put them on the board again so that we've got them up. We can all see them together and chat about the questions. I'm sort of planning to sort of do this until we run out of questions or 5 o'clock, whichever one happens first. Let's do that. And then click there, and then click there, and there. There we go. I've got some questions on the board. Okay, I've got recent questions. So, Ofi wants to know about. No, sorry, I'm going to have one more go. Ofi wants to know about predicted grades. If they're lower than the entry requirements, then that's not great because we want people to be at a certain standard in order to progress to the course and do well on the course. If there's a good reason why your predicted grades are lower than the entry requirements, then you should try and make sure that we know about it through something like your personal statement or your teacher's reference. I know you don't write the teacher's reference, but helpful if there's something important in there, like if your school never predicts A star for anyone, then it would be good for that fact to appear somehow, so that we know it's a school policy never to predict anyone A star, because maybe they've never seen anyone with an A star before, so never predict anyone an A star, and that's just policy. If that's policy, then it's not really impossible for you to get an A star. It's just something about predicted grades. We know that predicted grades aren't perfect. It's the thing to say here. We know that you might outperform them. On the other hand, we don't like making offers to people if we think that they're not going to make them. So if we think you're not going to make the grades, then we don't like to kind of get your hopes up and make you an offer that you're not going to get. So in some sense, if your predicted grades for a different reason, like especially if there was some sort of mitigating circumstance or some health condition that we should know about, that's why your teachers have decided to not predict you top grades in maths and further maths if you're doing it, let us know. Okay, just checking. Marilee is also, good score. Marilee is also mentioned in a typed reply. Thank you, Marilee, from Stats Department at Schools Liaison. A good score in math and interview. I mean, you might still get an offer. The offer's probably going to be a standard offer. Classic Matt Step question. Somebody want to take this in text, typed answer? So somebody would like to know if Matt is harder than or easier than Step. Step is definitely harder than Matt. I'm going to go for a strong position, and then if I get contradicted in chat, then we'll have a disagreement. But I think Step is definitely harder than Matt. Step is taken later in the year. So Matt's taken 3rd of November 2021. Step isn't until the end of the school year. So the people who are taking Step are closer to the end of their course. They finished A-level and maths and further maths. The material for Step is all of maths and further maths, which is way more stuff. So it's taken by older children who know more mathematics, and it's based on more mathematics. It's going to have harder questions. Also, there's an effect that Step is used for people who've got offers, to sort out people who've got offers into about 50-50 or something like that, whereas Matt is taken by all of our applicants. So Step has got this kind of very difficult job that the only people taking Step for Cambridge, for example, are the people Cambridge has made offers to. Everyone else has dropped out of the process before then. Taking Step for Cambridge, it's only a few people do that, and it's got to be a tough exam for those people. Whereas we get everyone to do math. Step's harder than math. Doesn't mean it's easier to get into Oxford than Cambridge though, because we've both got lots of applicants and you have to do well in the test, no matter what the test is. It's still fair between the applicants. Right, okay. At any point in time, let's say, at any point in your life, a math question probably looks easier than a Step question, but if you did math and Step, then in between math and Step, you'd have loads of time to learn more maths to get better at maths. Maybe that's a sensible thing. Like, you don't do the exams on the same date. Okay, right, good. I've done my math Step discussion. Somebody's typed a reply. Do they agree with me? Richard, who is a tutor at Worcester and also my boss, has agreed with me that Step is harder than that, so that's good news. Okay. Is there any work experience that would help? I don't know what work experience would look like for a maths applicant, so we don't require any work experience. I can't really think of any work experience that would really help. Do you know what? I'm going to let, so new questions are coming in. I'm going to let the tutors type things first. I'm going to let them go first. I'm going to scroll down a bit because there were some questions that came in during the day, in between sessions, that I thought were good. So I'm going to try and find some of those down here somewhere. How far down do I want to go? Okay. So after the first live session this morning, we had some questions like, are the joint honours courses supposed to be more work? And I should have answered that live because I get asked that question quite a bit. They're not supposed to be more work. If you're thinking about maths and stats, maths and philosophy, maths and computer science, those are supposed to be the same amount of work as just doing maths or just doing computer science. You do half and half of the courses in first year, and then you get some flexibility about how you balance the units later on, but it's not supposed to be more work. We talked about the foundation year a little bit live, so that's where we were live. And as I think I've just said, Oxford doesn't use Step, so we don't use Step 2 or 3. We just don't use them. We've got maths instead, so we compare people on their math scores rather than Step, because not everybody's got a Step grade. If you do Step 2 and 3 or something, and you have Step results, and you enjoyed the experience, and you feel like it demonstrates that you'd be a great student, you can talk about that in your personal statement if you want to, but we're still going to make you do the maths. Okay. There's a kind of question here that I thought was interesting about, is the joint honours course, after asking whether it's more or less work, is it better or worse than taking a single subject? And we're not, with the answers to that one, we weren't quite sure whether they meant to employers, in which case employers love all of our graduates no matter which course they were doing, so it doesn't matter. Viewed any better or worse by the students maybe, but no, because the students on their course are on the course because they love the course. They're on maths and computer science because they love both and they're interested in the intersection, or they're on maths or computer science degrees because they like those. So we thought the answer might be no, but we had to go through lots of different groups. Right. Why should I choose Oxford over Cambridge? Is anyone else thinking this one? Probably someone who's thinking this question, right? So Cambridge are also running their open days. In fact, Cambridge are running their open day today, and they're doing another one next week. So if you've been at both open days today, then you've been probably getting lots of information on Oxford and Cambridge. And if not, then maybe you could see Cambridge's open day next week. I think maybe they've got one next week you could sign up for. Why would you choose Oxford over Cambridge? Well, you might be interested in our joint honours courses, Maths and Computer Science, Maths and Statistics, Maths and Philosophy, which is not a thing at Cambridge. You might like Oxford the city. You might like not having Saturday lectures. You might like lots of things. The shade of blue. The approach we have, the particular relationship we have between college tutors and students, I think is quite good. Cambridge have something similar, of course, through their supervision model. I think the Oxford model's really good. I'm trying to pin this down into a concise difference between Oxford and Cambridge. The universities are pretty similar, the maths degrees are pretty similar, teaching style is very similar. There's lots of responses. If you're interested in this, students, what's your favourite thing? While the students were still here, lots of them typed responses of their favourite things about maths, or their joint honours course so far in response to this one. So check the Slido if you want to see that. Oh, there's a QR code if you want to see the Slido, if anybody's using QR codes. I wonder what the total number of people who have scanned... I should stop moving my mouse over it. I wonder what the total number of people who have scanned the QR code is. Goodness me. Right, okay. Other societies and activities? Yes. There are lots organised by students in the university. So lots of student societies and things like that. And also lots organised by the colleges. So one of the nice things about having the colleges as smaller groups within the university is that... at least in first year, the students tend to live in accommodation with the other first years at their near the other first years in their college. So it forms this kind of nice community aspects to it, and it means that they can organise social activities in these kind of smaller groups if they want a little bit more of a close knit community, while also being friends with people at other colleges and doing societies across colleges and things like that. So, for an example, in sport, some of the colleges might have a sport team, like a football team, and then you can play against other colleges. For other sports, there might be one university team. Like I think there's one university karate society to bring everyone together for karate, rather than having separate college karate societies. And sometimes it works like that, one way or the other. Lots of life as well as the course. I sort of think whenever you put however many thousand young people together, or not so young people, but whenever you put 1,000 or so students in the same place, they're going to get up to some stuff. Just me summarising the student social life as some stuff. There was a question about EPQs earlier. If you're doing an EPQ, that might be something you could talk about in your personal statement. Oxford doesn't ask for any grades in the EPQ. We don't use it in our admissions criteria, so we know that not everyone's got the chance to do an EPQ. If you've never heard of an EPQ, never seen this acronym before, don't worry about it. It's a sort of maths essay that some people write, or a different sort of essay, but for people here today, it's perhaps a maths essay that some people write. It can be a way to find out more about maths. Doesn't have to be for an EPQ, but hey, some of our students find this useful, but not everyone's got the chance to do one. And even if you've got a chance to do an EPQ, I think you don't always have a chance to do a kind of probably mathsy one in something that you're actually really interested in, so it's a little bit difficult. You can replicate the experience by reading around a topic you like and explaining it to a friend, I think, to be honest. Right, okay. Difference between Cambridge and Oxford. So we're still doing Cambridge and Oxford earlier. We talked about differences in tutorial and lecture styles. The differences are very minimal. Whether personal statements are completely irrelevant, to which I think my answer was no, not completely irrelevant. Personal statements can have important information in. You might have noticed a couple of times already, I've mentioned that someone could put something important in their personal statement as a way for us to see that information. I've been told, a voice in my ear, the producer voice in my ear has said that the name that I was pronouncing terribly is pronounced Aoife. So I'm really sorry to Aoife. Also for a slow reaction on the producer voice in my ear. Right, okay. Sorry, Aoife. Should I include... we talked about Olympiads a little bit. Some people have done kind of extra competitions and Olympiads and stuff. You can tell us about it if you want to. You don't have to have done this sort of thing. It's not everybody's idea of fun. And there's a question about switching courses, which is sometimes possible, but not always possible. We can't guarantee it in advance, switching between courses, because of prerequisites and whether there's teaching resources for you to switch courses. We don't let people freely switch between courses because we could run into trouble if everybody switched onto the same course at once. So we always do this as a conversation with the student. We have quite small numbers of students, so we do things like this, kind of talking to the students and them talking to their tutors. So we can't promise it in advance. Please apply for the course you would like to do. We might be able to switch you, but we might not be able to switch you. In practice, we switch quite a lot of people, especially between maths and stats, because they have the same first year, but we can't promise you specifically that we can do that. Okay, right. If you think you might be interested in doing lots of machine learning and things like that, then perhaps maths and stats would be something to look into now. During the MAT workshops, we were talking a little bit about MAT. If you apply to lots of universities, hey, all these universities use MAT. You only have to take the test once. There's some approximations to route 2. Right. Okay, right, good. Okay, let's have a quick look at questions that have come in while I've been live at the moment. How are we doing? What accountancy work experience? There's work experience again, but accountancy in particular. And I think I will cheat by reading out what... so it's hard to see how this would be... it's hard to see how this would help in the sense of improving the chances of being made an offer, because it might give you some sort of maths experience, maybe, slightly. There's I suppose, a small amount of overlap, though the disciplines are a bit different. There's a small amount of overlap, but it's hard to see how you could leverage that into doing better at the maths or answering more questions, or answering questions better at interview. We don't require any work experience, and it's quite hard to think of work experience that's actually really helpful. So there's a question from a MAT workshop that I didn't answer during the MAT workshop. I was sort of hoping that the person would come back afterwards. We could talk about it afterwards. Oh no, is that true? Or is this from recently? This is from recently, isn't it? Yes, it's from 4 p.m. Oh, hi. Someone who's currently here asking about the MAT workshop questions. So we did 2008 paper questions in the workshop. Ooh, hello. And people were really good at them, which is great. I selected questions that I thought were good for a MAT workshop in April. What is it now? It's May. A MAT workshop in May. The 2019 paper, let me remember, I think the 2019 paper turned out to be a little bit too hard. The average score was a little bit lower than previous years. 2020 paper, the average was a little bit higher. 2018, a little bit higher as well. The average varies a little bit, and that doesn't seem to make much difference in terms of, we've got everyone to do the same MAT paper, so we look at their scores compared to each other, and we know the average for that year that everyone's done. So if it's a couple of marks different, then it doesn't matter too much. It skews a bit. If everybody gets 100 some year, then that'll be pretty bad. But it doesn't make that much difference in terms of shortlisting. Has it actually got harder over the years? It's a very tricky question, because some of the MAT questions, it's very hard to decide how hard they are. It's very hard for people to agree how difficult the individual MAT questions are. If you do some past questions and you've got a strong opinion on this, then I think it's your opinion. Sorry. Okay. I think maybe the questions... am I allowed to do this? Maybe the questions are more unpredictable. I don't know. That's a separate question, right? The volatility in questions. Okay. And the kind of paired question, when do you recommend starting preparation for the MAT? Great news on this one. You have already started preparing for the MAT. If you're studying A-level maths or equivalent, so from the start of year 12, you've been learning mathematics that could come up on a MAT test through things that happen to be on the MAT syllabus. So the idea for preparing for the MAT is really that you're supposed to be preparing to get good at solving maths problems based on maths that you should know anyway. So if you've been learning that maths in school or college by doing A-level maths or equivalent, then you're already preparing. Now, basically at any point you could check the syllabus and go through those steps in my maths advice video to look at bits and pieces of mathematics. You could go and look at the maths syllabus and try some questions at basically any point from the start of year 12, I think, once you've started seeing bits of maths. I think it makes sense to wait, not starting at the start of year 12, because, at the start of year 12, loads of the topics are things that you haven't seen yet. From about I suppose about now you can probably do most of the math questions eventually if you put the time in now, except some of them might involve topics you haven't seen yet, which might be annoying. So maybe not doing whole papers of math at the moment. Maybe at the moment it's time to do things like revising the maths that you've learned so far, which is also helpful because it helps you with the maths that you've been learning so far in school. So maybe it's time to revise and look for links between maths that you've learned so far. Make sure you've got fluent with that. I'm going to launch the Matt live stream, doing actual Matt live questions on 5th of August over the summer. I think that's a perfectly fine time to start looking at Matt questions. Possibly even a bit early, because I don't think anyone should spend all of their summer doing Matt questions. There's sort of diminishing returns as well to looking at math papers. That's why step 5 in the math video is very much look at other questions, do something else, do other bits of maths. Because math questions, limited syllabus, gets boring just doing those. It's not like a varied diet. It's a little bit like, this is going to be a terrible sports analogy that I'm not really informed enough to do. Somebody told me once that baseball, that American sport that's popular in America and Japan, baseball is tricky because playing baseball doesn't make you much better at baseball, because when you play baseball you don't do very much baseball, and that somehow to get better at baseball you need to do other exercises to get better at baseball. I think math is a little bit like that, in that doing math questions is fine, right? Okay, you're doing your math questions, but somehow the preparation before of revising your content and making sure you're fluent at doing things and you understand how to recognise content that comes up, that's sort of more important than doing the math questions, somehow. Perhaps. All my math advice is advice, not instructions. Good. Have we got an answer to this one on the Slido? Hope we do. Does applying to a popular college for mathematics? So I hope we got an answer from. I hope we got an answer from Richard. Richard L. So okay. I won't read it. No. So we did some stats on this. We have loads of processes behind the scenes to compare applicants from different colleges, so that if you've applied to a popular college for maths and you're great, then even if that college has loads of great mathematicians, more than they have spaces for, every other college can see that you're great. They can see the numbers in a kind of shared database. And if you get an interview, which you might if you're great, if you get an interview, then you'll be interviewed by a second college. So you have that second college looking at you as well, and everyone else can see the numbers coming into the database, and they're keeping an eye out for best mathematicians. Because if the first college doesn't have space for all of the great mathematicians they've seen, then the second college can pick people out, and then after that, any other college can pick people up. So if you've applied to a popular college with loads of great mathematician applicants, or even just an unpopular college that happens to have lots of great maths applicants that year, then other colleges can see your application, and they're looking at maybe their applicants are not as good as you, and they don't have to take their applicants. They can take you instead. If you drop through from first college, second college. So you have that kind of process to make sure that if your interviews are seen by a second college, and that after interviews, any college can make an offer to someone who hasn't got an offer from their first two colleges. It's why we say when you apply, that's your first preference for college. It's just your first preference. It's not a guarantee that you get an offer from that college if you get an offer. About 25% of the offers are not at the college that the candidate originally applied to. But if you ask the first years which college is the best, by the time they've been in first year of it, they've normally worked out that their college is the best, whichever college it is. I think it's the community spirit of colleges. So no, it's most of my job. Most of my job is to make sure that the process runs smoothly, so that we're taking the best applicants regardless of which college they've applied to. That's like the admissionsy part of my job, where I'm looking out for making sure we're comparing applicants fairly and taking best people regardless. Yeah, I think the thing people don't realise is that a college doesn't have to take any of their applicants, so that even if they've got 6 applicants and 6 places, they don't have to take any of them. They can take you instead, even if you applies to a different college, as your sort of second or third preference. Right, okay. Not anyway, as your kind of second or third college, right? My teachers tell me to read more maths books, but I prefer to get maths books to learn from rather than read for fun. Should I start reading popular maths books? Oh, okay. What you're doing is fine. I did the same sort of thing. There's the question earlier about reading extra bits of mathematics. I did something a bit like that. I didn't like the idea of other people learning mathematics that I wasn't learning. So this is very nerdy. Like they, back when I was in A level, everything was in modules, and we got given a textbook and told, well, the first half of this textbook is a module called FP2, and we're going to learn that in school. And the other half is a module called FP3, and we're not going to do that in school. And you can't tell me that, right? Like, you can't tell me, here's half a textbook that you're going to carry around and never look at. Obviously, I looked at that mathematics, and it was great fun. And maybe it's massive nerd syndrome or something, but I looked at that bit of mathematics because it was there, and it was easy to access because it was the second half of a textbook. And I found that I could... read bits of mathematics and learn them. And I liked doing that, which is how I kind of knew that I wanted to do a maths degree, because I like learning bits of mathematics, reading about maths. So yeah, perfectly fine to be nerdy about things. Read maths. If you want to, go for it. Math books to learn from. Whoa, right, okay, good. I think you might enjoy maths at university. What happens if someone, for a tutorial, I guess, we were talking about tutorials earlier, what happens if you can't solve a single question on a problem sheet? This is fine, in the grand scheme of things. So the tutorials don't count towards assessment, they don't count towards the grade. In that sort of tutorial, if somebody's not done anything, but they've tried, then we can work with that. So if I was doing a tutorial and one of my students hadn't done any of the questions, I'd talk to them about the lecture notes. We'd probably put the problem sheet to one side. Forget about that for now. Let's talk about this bit of the content in the lectures and work through, why is this tricky? Why is this not making sense? Can we make this make sense? In a kind of two students, two or three students, one of me. Let's just work this out. And that kind of small group teaching can be really powerful in getting people unstuck on bits they don't understand, so that then they've got a chance to go and have another go at some questions and some things to think about. So this is fun. This is learning, right? There's a chance to learn things you can't do that you learn to do. It's university. Okay. There's Aoife. I've now learned how to say your name. Any work experience? Yeah, we've mentioned this a few times. Not sure I can think of any work experience. Oh, there's Matt and Steph again. I've reaching the top. Okay, right. I'm going to get up to date. We have 99 questions, and this is one of them. What do you look for in application of maths? Show passion on the subject. This is tricky, isn't it? I wonder if show passion is a bit of a phrase that's kind of losing meaning a little bit with things like X Factor and all the talent shows, and everyone's very passionate about what they're doing. It's sort of like, it's okay to just be good at things without showing passion for them. In general, if you like doing mathematics, if things working out is nice for you, then I think that's enthusiasm enough, really. So yeah, you might enjoy maths so much that you've looked at the other half of a textbook or something, or done some bit of maths that's perhaps not a normal thing to do. And maybe you could describe that as passion. I'm not really sure. I don't really have a stock definition for showing passion. Okay, I haven't really answered this question at all, but you do you, right? Like, I kind of had this movement that I think personal statements would be better if everyone was a little bit more personal in their personal statements and just willing to talk about themselves a little bit like that. Okay. What type of careers do mathematicians at Oxford go into after their degree? So, lots of things. So our graduates are good at solving problems. They're numerate. They reasonably know how to work with big data and do important decision-making things like that. They're good at understanding complex systems and learning. They're really good at learning. So I think employers see that, and our graduates are in quite high demand because graduates can take them and teach them a little bit about what to do, and they can go and solve problems in different situations. The biggest sectors taking our graduate employment are finance and banking, and software are the biggest two. Perhaps those are obvious targets, right? That working with money, working with software, okay, there's some like numbers involved and you get to solve some problems. And I think there's a kind of cliche that you have to do one or either, and that's really not true. They make up about 30% of our graduates in employment. And then after that, there's lots of other sectors of things like accountancy and people going on to do education or working in travel and sport and leisure, and forestry is on the pie chart for some reason. Other sectors, there's sort of lots of different regions. I think consultancy is a really interesting wedge of the sector, just to pull out one thing that people don't think of. Consultancy can mean working on lots of different problems to apply knowing about systems in general to try and help different clients with problems they're having in a particular case. It can take different forms depending on what sort of skills the consultancy company brings in. So kind of a range of careers in there. Lots of stuff. No set career that you have to go into. I think lots of graduate employment these days, they don't really mind what degree you've got, because along the way through doing a degree you pick up lots of skills about learning things and working independently and making decisions. Okay, how many days a week do we have lectures for? 5. What's the philosophy for not having it be more or less? Kind of like the working week, isn't it? 2-day weekend feels like where we are at the moment for work. It kind of works out the people doing the lectures, kind of lecturer staff. We feel like making them do it Monday to Friday it works out most. Like that's how it works out. I guess it could be fewer days, but then we'd have to do. We've got a lot of content that we want to show people. So if we did fewer days, then we'd have to do more lectures within each day. It just feels a bit over cramming. Our terms are already quite short, and doing weekend lectures. I'm not interested in doing weekend lectures. Although here I am, Saturday at 4:00, doing my job. Okay, International IGCE student school to fluent in English. Okay, this is going to be English language, isn't it? Oxford English language. Do not accept IGCE in either first language English, because you did IGCE in English language. Am I required to take? Yeah, it sounds like A plus B. I can't remember the policy word for word, but if you've copied out the policy word for word, then first language English. Is this really a thing? I don't know why I'm looking this one up. Sounds like you're just. Yeah. Sorry, I think we don't accept that as proficiency, but you might be exempt. Your school, we do an exemption. If you're on the English language requirements page and you scroll down to exemptions, if you've been educated for full-time in the medium of English language for 2 years before, then you're probably exempt from any sort of English language requirement. Essentially, if you're currently being taught in English, then you're probably going to be okay in a course on English. What is this? Is it true that someone did? Somebody put a video link to it in one reply. Yeah, okay, I'll put a link in. Yes, that was me. So Matt in 10 minutes is a video that I make. It goes out the day after Matt, and I just go through all of the solutions to the Matt paper in a 10-minute video. It's a sort of speed running thing. I've done this twice now. It's not supposed to be me doing the solutions in 10 minutes. Note that I know all the answers. It's not me doing the questions, it's me reading out the answers. I wrote some of the questions, so I'm cheating in that respect because I've got the advantage of having written the question. It's also edited, so it's not even me reading out the questions in one 10-minute take. It's edited down to fit into 10 minutes. So is it true that someone did the Matt in 10 minutes? No. Is it true that the person who wrote some of it and is in charge of marking it read out the marks in 10 minutes? Yeah, that was me. Right, I'll put a link in your comment as well. The most recent one, we did this in 2020 after the 2020 test, and that video got something like 250,000 views, which is ridiculous, right? I made this video for the kind of a handful of people who had done the test so that they could look at their answers the day after. 250,000 confused people on YouTube. Like the YouTube algorithm grabbed that. 250,000 people watched it, presumably very confused. So sorry if the news of that somehow got garbled into someone doing it in 10 minutes. Really good fun though. Oh yeah, popular colleges. So it varies year on year, but some of it's random fluctuation. and some colleges I think have more maths students. People see that and apply there with higher frequency. There's a little bit of patterns between years, but as I said below, it doesn't matter. You can pick a college for any reason, or pick no college and make an open application, which is fine. I'm not even going to name any colleges here. There are 29. Go for it. Here's Maya from the live streams. Hi, Maya. We're doing maths, a bit of math problems. Studying not super great. I need to do much more for my application. How much supercurricular activity do you expect? Oh my word. I haven't really got a number for this, right? I haven't really got a measure of how much we expect people to do. We know that you've got lots of other stuff going on at the moment, right? You've got other subjects that you're studying at A-level or equivalent. Oh, you've got actually maths and A-level maths that you're studying at that. You might have other sports and social events and stuff going on that you're not doing to impress me, and that's fine. I'm okay with people doing stuff for reasons other than impressing Oxford admissions. So I think doing something like the Maths Club is weekly, and it's this weekly chunk of mathematics. It's there and it's weekly so that people have got the option to drop in and try a bit of mathematics kind of whenever they want to. But I don't think we expect people to. We certainly don't. Let's say we don't expect people to go to all of the Maths Club live streams. We're putting stuff out there so that there's stuff out there. And in case your school doesn't have a maths club and you feel like you're missing out on the maths club experience, so we've got this kind of maths club thing. I've said maths club too many times, the phrase has gone weird on me. So we don't really have like a measure. We're not going to add up your supercurricular activities and say, oh, this person's scored 29 on the maths club scale. We're not going to do that. But I kind of recommend that as much as you feel comfortable with, if you want extra bits of mathematics, there's loads out there. You're definitely not going to run out of supercurricular mathematics. If you're fitting it into your schedule somewhere to pick up extra bits of mathematics, and I think that's a healthy thing to do, to be finding out about university mathematics, finding out about this subject that maybe you're thinking about spending 3 or 4 years of your life studying. I just feel like thinking about the decision is important. But yeah, nobody's going to look through and see what were you doing 2 months ago before the application. I think by being at this open day or by watching this video, you're showing an interest in maths way before the application deadline. In some sense, if you do any extra maths between now and applying, then that's more than a lot of people, probably. Right, okay, I'm running out of questions that are coming in. Let's read some replies. Yeah, Marilee has put a nice reply that I'll read out as well. If you're enjoying maths, that's all we care about. Do as much as you like, and it will prepare you well for a maths degree, we hope. Not just at Oxford, but just preparing for maths. I go further, I say preparing for maths should help you later in life. Problem-solving skills are useful. We're not just doing them to get into Oxford, we're not just doing them to do well in a maths degree, we're learning these skills of solving problems so that we can go on and solve other problems later on. My motivation in school was that I wanted to follow a physicist around and help work out this kind of fundamental physics that was going on when I was in school. And somewhere along the way I got distracted and I've ended up talking about all sorts of maths along the way and thinking about other bits of mathematics. But having that kind of motivation to, in the end, we're learning these skills for a reason, right? We're going to be useful with our super maths knowledge. Okay, the question counter thing has stopped at 100. I don't think that's a bug. I think there are exactly 100 questions that have come into the Slido today, which seems like a nice place. If anybody's got anything else they want to ask, then I'm going to hang out. Let's just going to keep the live stream on for the next 10 minutes, I think. Get it up to 5 o'clock. So yeah, if you want to ask anything else or hang around for 10 minutes, then I'm still here. Otherwise, have a nice evening. If you're off now, have a nice evening and enjoy the rest of term. Hope everything goes well with school or college and things like that. Hopefully we get everything back to normal and go back to doing things in person at some point. Possibly see you for an open day at some point later this year online, or very slim possibility of in person. And best of luck with applications and things like that. Oh, people have put questions in because I asked them to. That was nice. Good evening to you. Yeah, bye, Amber. what got me interested into being what got me into being interested in physics. So this this is going to be a long tangent. This is going to give away my age a bit. But when I was in school, the Large Hadron Collider was getting just about to get switched on. It was very exciting, and I knew that physicists used lots of mathematics, and some of them had sort of mathematicians around to work with them on calculations. Sounded cool to me. Sounded like a good application of mathematics. So I did a maths degree. Got distracted, kept doing maths degrees. I was getting a PhD. So I have a PhD. Does it make you more employable? So there are some graduate employment. There are a few graduate employers who are actively looking for maths PhDs to do their exciting decision making with them. In general, degrees don't often require that you have a PhD. So in that sense, people do a PhD for a kind of quite different reason than employing graduate prospects normally. Though I do know people who've done PhDs for employability reasons, that they want to have a maths PhD to understand a process a bit more and do some research on it, so that then they can apply that research back in the career that they're in. What's the process like if after you finish uni, applying to higher education? So after you've done uni, applying to do some more uni? So I did that. I applied to do a master's degree and then a PhD, and it's based on recent academic achievements. So by that stage, GCSEs definitely don't matter. A-levels don't really matter. Looking at what you've done on your degree, how did that go? Did you make the most of opportunities on your degree? I guess if you're looking at applying to highly selective further courses afterwards, after you finish uni, doing other higher education. About 30% of our graduates, so I should have said this before, about 30% of our graduates go on to further study. So they go on to do more study elsewhere, maybe some sort of master's program or doing some sort of PhD later on. There's quite a lot of people doing some sort of graduate study, not necessarily in maths. Yeah, not necessarily in maths, because you can take a maths degree and then go and do graduate study in something else, using your maths skills. I know someone quite well who did a maths degree and then did a master's in something called systems biology, where you're understanding biological systems using mathematical data analysis techniques. So hard mathematics applied to biology problems. They tell me that biology is kind of like the next. Maths came for physics ages ago. Physics is full of maths. Chemistry has got some maths in it too. Biology is next. Biology is already having lots of mathematicians getting interested in helping out there. Will we be able to look around the Maths Institute in person? I don't know. At the moment it's not open. It's closed. Those are not mutually exclusive. We found out at the start. Sorry, can't say at the moment. What are you doing to increase the number of girls in the course? Hey, so we are working with. We're working with girls at a variety of different age groups. We've noticed that further maths classes are gender imbalance. The gender imbalance is there already. So we're working with younger people to encourage them that mathematics is great and involves lots of different things. It can mean lots of different things to be interested in mathematics, and encouraging people to do further maths a little bit as well, just by showing them lovely maths and being enthusiastic about mathematics sometimes with a bunch of what am I saying? We do a program called It All Adds Up, which works with girls at a variety of ages, getting them to meet other girls in mathematics, bringing people together when we're allowed to bring people together to meet other people who are interested in mathematics, to try and encourage people to eventually consider getting into a position where they're considering doing maths at university. It's not enough to do stuff. It's not enough to just do stuff with applicants. There are problems starting earlier in terms of whether people are choosing to do mathsy sort of things or not later on. So we're doing all we can to work with younger people, and also in terms of applications, things are fair throughout the application process as well. Okay, smiley face. Things are going to get better. We're doing work with younger people. It takes time for things to come through. Maths is really great. Our course is currently about 30% female, which is, I guess, nowhere near 50-50. 30-70 is not great, but it's not. It could be worse. It's not a great thing for me to say, but yeah. doing what we can. Cool. How much computing? Ooh. There's a little bit of computing, so enough that if you're interested in computing, then we're going to teach you how to do things with computers. In the first year, there's a little bit of course where we do a little bit of coursework showing you how to do things with computers, telling computers how to do your mathematics for you. A bit like how you might give things to a calculator at the moment, more powerful way of doing that with a computer. We're going to teach you that. We don't expect you to have any stuff before. Definitely don't need you don't need any interest in IT. You need to be interested in solving problems, and sometimes the only way to solve a problem is to just get a computer to do it for you. So go and look at that. Later on in the course, if you're interested in the kind of frontiers of computer science, kind of lambda calculus, understanding logic and set theory stuff there as well. That first year, I've just seen a question come in. That first year computer coursework thing is mandatory. We give people loads of help. We don't expect them to have seen any sort of programming before. It is an important part of being a mathematician to be able to get computers to do things. Most maths degrees will get you to do something with computers at some point. Is the math weighted more than personal statements? Yeah, I suppose so. It's more important than personal statements. Yeah, definitely. If you have a good math score and a normal, not particularly exciting personal statement, then you're probably getting shortlisted because of the good math score. If you have a bad math score and exciting personal statement that explains lots of supercurricular mathematics that you're doing, then you're probably not getting shortlisted because of the math score. It's more important in that sense. Can you do a master's in maths at Oxford from a maths degree? Yeah, so if you stay for the fourth year, you get a master's. That's a fourth year it's called an integrated master's if you stay on for the fourth year. Yes. I like a yes/no question. Is the first year computer course mandatory? Yes. I like a yes/no question. If you do A-levels early, are you at a disadvantage? You will not be actively studying the A-levels. So I'd advise you to, I think someone will type a response here, but I'd advise you to keep doing some sort of mathematics, to keep trying things so that you keep your skills sharp through the year after doing maths and further maths. It can be a little bit tricky if you've finished school maths and it's some time before university maths. It can be tricky to find maths to fill the space in between there. Luckily, there's lots of supercurricular maths out there. Lots of sort of bridging material between maths and university. What's the percentage of people getting accepted from interviews? So we interview about 3 times as many people as we have places, so about 3 to 1, 33%-ish. We have a set number of places and a pretty much set number of people that we interview, so it's about that. We're interviewing more people than we have places, so we can use the interviews for a meaningful decision. But we can't make offers to everyone we interview. Is there a dissertation? You can write an essay in the third year. You don't have to. That's an optional thing. One of the options, it replaces one of your other courses. Our third year is entirely made of options, so it's a little bit meaningless for me to say it's optional because everything in third year is optional. You stick together units, choosing as you like from courses. So that's quite nice. There's no hard cut-off score in maths to get an interview. No hard score, you must score this. Because we're looking at the rest of your application and things like your predicted grades, whether there's contextual information in there whether there's contextual information that says that actually you've got an okay math score, but there's reasons why that's kind of great in your context given other things we know from your application, compared to you've got an okay math score, but there's other reasons why we expected you to score a bit higher than that. So we can distinguish between people with a particular math score. We don't have a hard cut-off. It means that if you score if you get a kind of lower math score, but there was a really good reason, then we're allowed to shortlist people. Sometimes we shortlist people without a math score because there was a really good reason why they don't have a math score. That's obviously unusual because of the mitigating circumstances in there. Right, okay, I'm rambling a little bit and I'm running out of time. So post-interview, are your math scores and personal statements used in the offer decision-making process? Yes, we look at everything together. Interview's not a final hurdle, we look at everything together at that stage. Now the interview is important because we've actually met you and done some mathematics with you, but we also still have your math score for a kind of paper. Here's what you did on some maths in a timed math paper conditions. Plus we have all the other information we know from your UCAS form, other things that help us view things in context. And you find out your math score. So if you want to know your math score, Oxford applicants get an automatic email in January. So you get an automatic email in January with your maths score in it. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. The maths score is right at the bottom, so you can delete it before you see it if you don't want to see your maths score. Okay. Do I do the interviews? So there's a team of about 100 people doing interviews. I do some of the interviews, or I have done in the past, done some of the interviews. If you watch the interview advice video, you can see an example of an interview question that I've done. I do not do all of the interviews. That would be crazy. Right, okay. There's about 100 people doing interviews. Okay, we're gonna, and dissertations, I've been reminded by a producer voice in my ear, dissertations are now compulsory in the 4th year. So if you stay for the 4th year, then you will do a dissertation then. My optional comment was about 3rd-year essays, I guess. Sorry. Right. Okay. I'm going to call it 5 o'clock there because that's the time. Maybe see you around at Maths Club or Mat live streams later on in the year when we kick those off in August. It's been lovely doing mathematics today with you. The videos on the Open Day page, they're not going anywhere. If you want to watch more of them, then they're going to stay there. So you're welcome to come back and watch more of them. And you can contact us on email if you have a question afterwards that you wish you'd asked. Our email address is, I think, in the description of this video on YouTube and in other places as well. We're not that hard to get in touch with. All the best with mathematics. Thanks for asking loads of great questions. Especially those last 19 questions when I thought we'd stopped, but then there were 19 more that have got us up to 5 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining in, and I hope you enjoy everything else. Bye.